Hello. You all gave me a mic. This is problematic. Okay. Hi, you all. My name is Patricia Garza. I use they, them pronouns. Thank you. And you all, my favorite topic of conversation, Los Angeles. Yay! And some of our, yes, go Dodgers. And some of our panelists are a little stuck in the Dodgers celebration. So we're hoping that they will join us shortly. This is Breaking Barriers, Building Legacies, Latinas in LA Theater. Yeah. And we are live streaming on HowlRound TV. So hello, HowlRound. We are so excited, you all, because we have very special guests with us. Two women, other fierce Latinas in LA Theater, that have an amazing, incredible project that they're going to share with you. And then after, they're actually going to be in the lobby. So if you want to learn more, and there should have also been some information in your packet. This is a special spotlight on a project from the Latinx Theater Alliance of Los Angeles. Woo woo! And this is an oral history of Latinx theater in modern LA from the 1960s to the present. Voices del Teatro. So Leanne and Minerva are going to tell us all about it. So I'm going to pass it to them.
Well, hello, everybody. Can you hear me? Hi. Welcome to LA. Woo! All right, so my name is Minerva Garcia, and on behalf of myself and Blanca Melchor, we are some of the founding members and current co-facilitators of the Latinx Theater Alliance Los Angeles, LTALA. Woohoo! We're an ad hoc group of individual theater makers, practitioners, administrators from Los Angeles and Orange County. We advocate for our communities, and we also empower them by providing public workshops, convenings, and the Writers' Circle, which incubates new works by emerging playwrights while being mentored by established playwrights. In 2020, LTALA decided to begin to sponsor our archive, Voces del Teatro, an oral history of Latinx theater in modern Los Angeles from the late 1960s to the present. I just want to give you a quick history and context of how we began the archive. So in our second convening in 2014, we decided to ask our participants, the name of it was Navigating the Currents of American Theater, and we asked the participants to help us create a timeline of the most important theater events in Los Angeles. So we asked them to bring postcards, photos. You know, they had started a theater company, literally write it on a Post-it and put it on that timeline. And when it was quite impressive, the amount of output that Los Angeles has done, Latino theater makers, in terms of companies and artists and productions. And so since that time, you know, once we gathered all the ephemera, we were just pondering, you know, what to do with all of this information. And we, you know, we thought about doing the archive then, but of course, we're all volunteers to this day. We're doing it on our own time and our own dime. And so we didn't have, you know, the real focus and time to be able to do it then. However, we know what happened in 2020, the pandemic, you know, everything turned upside down. And even, well, not even more, but just as important was the death of Diane Rodriguez, one of our esteemed colleagues, our, you know, Chola Most High. You know, she was just a Renaissance woman, and it really just lit a fire under our butts. So after we did our third convening, Awake and Activate, LTALA decided to truly focus on making the archive happen. And thanks to a small little grant from the California Humanities, you know, they gave us the seed money to begin the archive. And we gathered all our advisors, people like Armando Wipe, Jorge Huerta, Blanca Melchor, of course, Daphne Sicre, Patricia Garza, thank you so much for your help. Also, Edward Padilla, and of course, Leanne Shermer, here, my esteemed colleague. She also became the project director. And so I'm gonna hand it over to her and let her, you know, fill you in.
Hi everyone, I'm Leanne Shermer, and I've been involved in Latino theater since the 80s. Yes, despite the ingenue appearance, I've been here for a long time. So I've worked with a lot of these companies, and over the years, I became passionate about the history, and I started asking questions, always from the elders. You know, how did it start, and where did this come from? And I was just sort of amassing knowledge over the years and thinking that something should be done about it. So at the same time as I was pursuing a theater career and very much involved in bilingual theater, I also kind of by default and by vocation became an LA historian at the same time. So I thought, what a great way to combine my passion for archiving and for LA history with theater. And we need theater to tell those kind of stories, whether it's LA history, New York history, Chicago history. We're sitting on a gold mine here, but we need to know our own history first. So,
And may I
go
add
ahead.
that if we weren't going to do it, nobody else was going to do it, tell our story. So we had to step up, and I'm very grateful that LTLA did. So go on.
So we decided that we wanted it to be told exactly in the words of the people who founded the companies. While LA has a long history of Latino theater, theater in Spanish and in English from this community, we began with the Chicano movement, which made sense because people are still here to tell that story. So in a sense, we're working the history backwards. We began with elders in their 80s and slowly working our way back. Our first goal with the first grant was 20 interviews, followed by our second grant cycle, which was another 20. And we selected people based on the length and breadth of their career in Latinx theater in Los Angeles. So we started with artistic directors, obviously, of our major companies, and then went on to choreographers, designers, directors, key elder performers, and of course, it's still in process, and we have a master list of people that we are dying to interview. So we are by no means finished. Our goal is 100 interviews. And because we might say, quite rightly, well, there are reviews, aren't there? Aren't there film clips? Aren't there reviews? Well, you have to know about it to be able to find that review. And what we wanted to do specifically was create this Latinx theater as a subject in itself, as a genre, if you will, so that people are now aware that this movement and this type of theater exists in rather an impressive volume in this town. And so we began with the Chicano movement. What else should we tell you about it? I said our goal is 100, and we are on our way, so funding pending. That's where we're going.
Yeah. So I also wanted to say there was an article. I don't know if you guys know that magazine, Alta, Alta. Anyway, they had a theater magazine article about theater in Los Angeles. You know how often we were mentioned, the Latinx theater here in LA? Once, from the 1700s. It's like we didn't exist. Yeah. And so that's another reason I said, no, we have to take the reins and make this happen.
So I decided we brought this to the history company, also the history group, as it were. Here, that's called LA as Subject, which is a fantastic organization of all the archives, libraries, museums, all focused on LA history. And they come together once a year, also in October. And we became members, and we presented there. And we were shocked and amazed to find that nobody really knew about this. And consequently, also, the enthusiasm we were met with, the kindness, the encouragement, the enthusiasm, we can't really say enough about that community when they said, why didn't we know about this? We want to know more. Please tell us. And so that's what we're doing. We were taken up by the At-Risk Committee for At-Risk Archives from LA as Subject, and they mentored us and gave us wonderful advice and literally a roadmap of what to do next. So we're very grateful to them.
Yeah. Oops. I turned it off. So, did I turn it back on? Yes. So in 2023, Cal State LA approached us about becoming our official repository, and we chose to partner with them. So our digital archive is housed at Cal State LA. And yes, give it up for Cal State LA. Yeah.
Yes.
And we also have an umbrella collection under our name, the Latinx Theater Alliance Collection. We have a couple of artists that have signed on with us, and we're housing their ephemera. Eventually, we want it to be a center for the study of Latinx theater. So that's our next goal, to keep adding to our collection, to keep doing the oral history interviews.
And also to encourage archiving within the companies, that it becomes part of your budget, part of the production cycle. When you close a production, there is an archiving cycle. And we're certainly here to help. There's LA Subject, there's wonderful organizations that can assist you in doing so if you don't do it. And it's quite a real danger. I don't know if those of you who aren't so much into archiving, but people have items in file cabinets, which isn't exactly an archive, better than nothing, of course. Or usually the founder has a garage with a lot of boxes in it.
Yeah.
And we know what happens. When people pass on, there's very often no instruction given. And even though they tell their kids, hey, this is important, if it's not written down, it doesn't get saved. And so often, and more often than I can tell you, people come in and at the very last minute say, oh, who's gonna care about that? And oh, nobody cares, that was a lot of, and in a heartbeat, it's gone. And so that's what we're dealing with right now, is that we're really trying to preserve the roots of all this so that people understand where we came from. It's a source of pride for those younger ones among you that you're coming into a huge tradition, and particularly in this town when theater was discounted for so long, in general, right?
Yes.
And so we want the young people to come in and say, and look at the interviews, and you will meet some of these people today who had impressive careers and whose life story is amazing. And we know them. And we were blown away by what we found out on the interviews.
Oh, absolutely.
Their character, their tenacity, the perseverance. These are inspiring stories for any age. But particularly, it's their struggle and their view on this movement in general. And that's the difference that makes this different from an interview. It's quite a unique approach. And so we want to reach out to other cities and find out what's going on and support as best we can. But these histories aren't just of theater. Here, most of our work is original. So it's literally a chronicle of the social, political history of this city and the Latino community.
Yes.
And so students from all different disciplines can draw a lot of value from this and actually still go see it and touch it, which makes it super exciting. As you can tell, we're
It's
excited
so
about it.
exciting, you all. Any last things you wanted to
We
share?
have 55 years of history of Latinx theater, but I don't think we're going to cover it. However, I also wanted to add that our advisor at Cal State LA, Azalia Camacho, is a great resource. She's very, very aware of this collection. She's doing everything she can to help us out, to approach the different companies. And, we're in the process of announcing that soon. But she's the head of special collections, and she has taken us under her wing. And they're so excited at Cal State LA that we have this initiative.
Thank you. Yeah. Oh, you got the mic?
One last thing that's also very important about the Latinx theater community, I'm sure this is true of the regions that you all come from, but in LA, this period of theater very much became a family because there was a whole rise of people getting into theater from activism, right? And some people, kept on with the political activism. Others, did a proper, thorough study of theater and became artists in that way. But as we move forward, what is so interesting to note are the cross connections. This is a family that met at a particular time in history, continued to work together, spawned companies, marriages, friendship. We're into our
Families.
friendships between our children, second and reaching third generation. It's incredibly different from our counterparts around town because it is a family. And here, even if you go away for a time, you come back and it's the familia. So this is a family tree and a family archive. So that's why it's also important. Yeah.
Absolutely. Well, thank you, Leanne and Minerva. Let's give them a round of applause. This project is so important, you all. They'll be out in the lobby displaying some of the interviews, and obviously, if you have any more questions, you know who they are. We actually are going to talk a little bit about one of those companies as we transition into our next moment, and I'll invite Denise to join me in a moment. One of the companies that was, thank you so much, thank you. One of the companies that was spotlighted in this project is the Bilingual Foundation of the Arts. The BFA, as we affectionately call it here in LA. For over 5 decades, you all, again, just what Minerva and Leanne are saying, this rich history, the BFA has been a beacon of creativity, diversity, and empowerment here in Los Angeles. Their mission is to provide a platform for Hispanic culture, bridging gaps, and fostering understanding through the power of bilingual theater. And I'm going to introduce you to Denise, who's actually going to be on our panel shortly. And I'm just kicking water, and this is going to be a super trimmed down version because Denise's body of work is immense. Yes, Denise. Oh, here you go. Here's a mic for you. So I just get to love on you. But I want to read because I don't want to get anything wrong. So Denise is a Puerto Rican actress, a stage and film director, a designer, podcast writer, director, again, fierce actress, producer. She was the artistic director of LA Diversified and is currently associate artistic director of Bilingual Foundation for the Arts. Former, yes, but recent former. Her work, you all, has garnished much praise and will continue to see Denise in film, directing, designing, and performing for many, many years, I am sure. So Denise is going to do a presentation, a little talk about BFA, and we're going to do some honoring of them. So I'm going to turn it over to you.
So, hello, I'm going to try not to use a
Actually, we do need to use the microphone for Hal Round.
Anyhow, so how did it start? In 1980, I met the founders of Bilingual Foundation of the Arts. I arrived to Los Angeles in 1979, a long time ago, and there was very little theater in Los Angeles. The Odyssey Theater, the Skylight Theater, the Frida Kahlo Theater, and Bilingual Foundation of the Arts. So I meet with the trio, and it was an amazing experience. Carmen Zapata, who died in 2014, was a truly inspiring woman who had Argentinian, Mexican, American heritage. And she worked on Broadway. She was a singer, actually, and she was a singer, and she had worked a lot in TV and film. So she moved to Los Angeles and decided to create a theater in the late 1970s. She joined with Margarita Galban, who was a Cuban actress who had left Cuba when she was 16 years old to come to Mexico and had a career in Mexico for a long time, was a very respected actress, and then moved to Los Angeles. And then Estela Scarlata, also known as Piki, also Argentinian. She was an amazing designer. I'm talking amazing, though. The sets that this woman created were such beautiful, complex sets. And so they decided to create a theater. And they called it the Bilingual Foundation of the Arts because because it was the only theater that would have English and Spanish performances. Now, Carmen Zapata was very astute, so she decided that she was going to translate all the Garcia Lorca's creations so that she could cast herself in all the best parts, no? So she did. So we would do bilingual theater using Lorca as one of the writers that she loved with all her heart, and so did Margarita Galban. But that was not the only thing that they wanted to do. They wanted to do classic theater. And yes, number one, give the energy to Latino writers, new and old productions. But Zapata's dream was also to create a theater where if we wanted to do Ibsen or any other writer, Chekhov, whatever, that we would do it, but with a Hispanic Latino cast, so that people would see that we could do anything, not just one particular thing. So with that, we also created workshop situations, children theater, traveling theater, and I want to mention a few of the names of the people that started in that theater. We had Carmen Murcelo, we had Maria Richwine, also called Maria Luna, Irene de Barri, Alejandra Flores, Maria Rubel, Yvonne Cole. Maybe you don't know some of these names, but they were important actors and actresses. Andy Garcia did plays at the Bilingual Foundation of the Arts. Carmen Zapata always used to say to him, louder, louder, this is not film, louder. Willie Marquez, Gino Silva, John Maldonado, Sal Lopez, who's part of the ensemble here in LATC, Tony Plana, Maggie Palomo, Edith Diaz, Margarita Lamas, that came and joined in 1980, Susana Guzman, who's one of the most fantastic sopranos in California, Maria La Chacha Bermudez, who's a flamenco dancer that if she comes and visits Los Angeles again, you need to take classes with her because she's an incredible flamenco dancer, and she started at Bilingual Foundation of the Arts. We used to be in 19th Avenue, the old jail, but then they decided to throw us out from there. And so now we're in residence in several places, but usually we perform in La Plaza de la Garza. That's in the 1980s, I met you, Cecilia. And Cecilia was our stage manager in residence. And when we finally closed the theater, it was such a sad and beautiful experience to close it down. Cecilia and I were the ones that were gathering as fast as possible because we didn't know whether we would be there the next day because we didn't know when they were going to close the theater. The city had decided that it wasn't safe. We had been there like 20-something years, and they didn't care whether it was safe, but suddenly they wanted to change that and make it into apartments, but that never happened. So we would go early in the morning and gather as much paperwork, sets, costumes, whatever we thought we could use. We didn't have it where to store it. So, of course, that went into our garages and whatever space we could get. But the adventure of clearing the Bilingual Foundation of the Arts was such a difficult, but like I said, a beautiful moment because we got to see pictures of everyone that had worked there. Cristina Avila, I have a picture of you actually. Tú también. Getting all these pictures and the costumes that were saved. Bilingual Foundation has an amazing amount of incredible costumes, period costumes. So if you ever need rentals, Ceci's the one to go. You need to call her. And so what's Bilingual Foundation of the Arts did too was try to make collaborations. We did a few collaborations actually with LATC when we did Wild in Wichita, and we'll talk about collaborations later on. But I just wanted to give you a little feel of what it was to work at Bilingual Foundation of the Arts. It was very passionate. Imagine 3 locas leading the theater, and with más locas as the actors joining, and we all have opinions, we all have imagination, but it was a place full of love. And yes, we did a lot of fighting too, but it was a place where it was so creative, and it was so impressive to be working with such amazing actors and actresses, a lot of actresses, guys, that I want to leave you with that. A place where, you know, Carmen Zapata, I was with her when she was dying, and she said to me, I did have some talent, didn't I? And it was like, wow, you created this. Of course you had talent. And I just want to leave you with that because we always, as humans that we are, we have this vulnerability sometimes that shows you who we truly are. And even though she showed the strength to everybody, she still had this humanity that was beautiful. And that's all I have to say.
Thank you, Denise. Yes. And we're going to keep that going because we're going to honor, and I think there's some Flores, I'm looking around. There they are. Do you want to, and you already kind of mentioned Ceci, but do you want to just give even more love?
So Cecilia Garcia is now our artistic director, and she will be accepting these flowers para nuestras mujeres de Bilingual Foundation of the Arts. And here we go.
Thank you. On behalf of the three founders, Ms. Evangeline Montalvo, thank you.
And I wanted to say also,
Yes.
se me olvidó, because at the theater where we used to be, there used to be ghosts. We had ghosts all over the place. Sometimes she and I would go upstairs to check them out, right? And or I would stay overnight, and then she would give me the tour. And then Carmen and Margarita would go, "Pero niñas, ¿por qué están haciendo eso? Eso no se hace." And we loved it. But there were ghosts. Sometimes you would feel them pushing you, you know?
Touch you.
Or when I went to, yeah. And we had many organizations that used to come to film the ghosts.
Yes.
Anyhow, just
Wow.
a little.
We want to take a
If you want
moment.
to go and check some ghosts, go to the old building.
Go to the jail. We also just want to take a moment of silence to honor these three founders that created this company. So let's just take a beat and close our eyes if you feel comfortable with that. Just say, we honor you, we honor your spirits, we honor your legacy. Thank you. And thank you. Continuing the work that goes on.
Carmen's, Margarita's birthday was October 27th, and our anniversary is this November 3rd. So just keep us in mind, that Bilingual Foundation, 51 years.
Thank you so much. Thank you. I'm going to ask our panel to join us. And so as we transition, so Rose, Evelina, Cristina, I'm looking around. I hope you're all here by now. You all, the Dodger traffic was real. The Dodger traffic was real. Let's just give them a moment to come on stage. Okay, you all, we're going to be joined by some legends here, so. So I already introduced Denise, but just love, love, love. Love on Denise. As they join, I'm going to read a little bit about their bios. You all, I had to condense these down, as you can imagine, because look at these pages. So these are just a real short excerpt, so please join, please join. So next to Denise is Rose Portillo. Oh, yeah, woo! Rose is an accomplished actor, writer, director, educator, visual artist. Her Dia de los Muertos altar right now is just stunning. She's had a huge stage and film career, which begun, and we talked about this earlier today, Rose, with Luis Valdez's Zoot Suit, the original LA production, the Broadway production, and the film. So if you recognize Rose, she's also the associate director of About Productions with Teresa Chavez, who's running around here, I think, celebrating 24 years, which is really exciting. Yes? No? About Productions? Yes. Oh, they're in their 30s. Oh, in their 30s, okay. Okay, got it. You also started Young Theater Works as well, which serves continuation option students, high school students predominantly. So. And you live here in East Los Angeles, so we're excited to have you with us today. Then we are joined, we already mentioned Denise, and I'm going to pick up my other long sheet here for Evelina. You all know Evelina Fernandez, who's born as well and raised here in East LA, yes. She's an award-winning playwright, screenwriter, actor who writes about the U.S. Latinx experience. Evelina's plays have received many, many accolades, just a few that I pulled out. The LA Drama Critics Circle Awards, LA Times Critics Choice List, Ovation Awards, Backstage Critics Picks, and special shout out to Evelina's 6-hour epic, which I sat through all of it, Evelina, production, A Mexican Trilogy, which won the LADCC Award for Outstanding Writing of a World Premiere Play, and is now published by Samuel French. So pick it up, you all. And she's also written for TV and film as well extensively. So, y'all, these are just It's too much. And then Cristina, you just came from a shoot, so thank you for running over. Cristina Avila is an amazing actress who's appeared in many, many television shows and films, like Rose was also in Zoot Suit here at the Taper Forum. She's performed a one-person show on the life of Cesar Chavez called Ale Casa for Living Voices for over 10 years. Was it 10 years? Yeah, more than that, okay. Teacher, educator, founder of the We Tell Stories. You also were part of Sundance Playwrights Lab many, many times. And you may also recognize Christina's voice from her many awards from AudioFile for her books on tape. So you all, please welcome this panel. Pretty incredible. So we're going to start with a question for all of you. And I'm just going to call on you so they don't have those awkward silences. I always love to start with origin stories. And instead of, when I was 5 years old, I'm going to ask this a little differently. And I would love for you to share a piece of theater either that you attended or that you created that really shaped you as an artist. So a piece of theater that either you attended or you created that shaped you as an artist. Christina, can I get you to start? Are you ready?
There's very many pieces, but some of the first pieces that were of interest to me were ballet. I had a teacher when I was in first grade who took us to the ballet, and I'd never seen a full orchestra. It was, Nutcracker, very classic, but it was just an extraordinary event to me. And later in life, I would say, a big event for me was a production of Waiting for Godot at UCLA. It was a company from Ireland that came in, and it was just so moving to me. I was a theater arts major, but I had never seen such incredible work, and the language was extraordinary, and I just found it very, very moving. So music, dance, and straight theater has all been very strong in my life.
Evelina, do you want to go next?
Yeah, is this on?
I think you might need to flick it on.
I don't know how to turn it on. Thank you. When I was at Stevenson Junior High School in East Los Angeles, I had a drama teacher, Mr. Hunter. And he was really the first person that ever, put me on stage, said I had talent. And I think about this a lot, but he took us to see him act in The Odd Couple. And I think about it because, what was he thinking? Because he just took all these, little junior high school chicanitos to, there must have been 50 of us, to see The Odd Couple. And I remember watching my teacher on stage and just being so blown away by his talent. And I was just like, oh my God, Mr. Hunter. And it's not like he was like handsome or sexy or anything, okay? He was like, short, middle-aged man. And, but anyway, that really changed me, and it made me think that's what I want to do, because he had already said, you have talent. Have you thought about being an actor and all of that stuff? So the Odd Couple.
I love it. I love it. Rose, do you want to share?
So I'm having trouble. I'm drawing a blank as to the exact theatrical event, but my father felt it was important to expose me to the arts. So he waited till I was about 10 or 11, and he got tickets for my mother and my father and myself to start going to the music center. And he would pull me out of school. Now, my father was the first white collar in the family. He became a doctor. And so sometimes, and he was aware of this, the title doctor carried weight. So, especially in a small elementary school. So he went to the teacher, who was a nun, and said, I want you to excuse Rosemary from homework tonight. She'll make it up, but we're taking her to the theater, and she will not have time to do her work. And I went. And it was musical comedy. I'm not sure how funny it was, but it was emotional and huge. And the colors and the designs and the costumes and the music and hearing an overture for the first time and projection. Because, everybody wasn't mic'd back in the day. You had to have your chops in place. So it was so overwhelming. I remember crying and laughing, and then we got in the car and I couldn't shut up. So he went, well, I guess this was a good decision. Prior to that, I had already been writing plays. So I'm sorry, I'm giving you the 5-year-old story. But I would go, especially after that event, I would then go to the principal and say, we wrote a play and we rehearsed during recess and we would like to share it with the school. And we didn't have an auditorium. So all the teachers would let us, at a certain point, my little cast and I were excused, and we would go to each classroom and perform our plays. Yeah, I mean, you have to have people who are willing to listen to you. So my father sparked this madness, and then I had educators who were willing to let me do it and who approved of my doing it. So that was pretty cool.
Yeah, shout out to educators, which a lot of you are. Denise, do you want to share about a theater experience?
Hello. So again, like you, I started very young. My sister and I used to write little plays and do them for our parents to entertain them. Then it was time for my 8th grade is when I met 3 amazing women. Topito, which means little person. She was this little sister, a nun, and very minute, very diminutive. And La Señorita Shea, who was a drama teacher, and La Crocetti, who was a communist. So between the 3, we would have these parties at tertulias, is how they call them in Puerto Rico, where my friends and I would invite our 3 favorite women from school and play guitars, smoke cigars, attend all sorts of things. But one night, they took us to see en el Teatro Tapia in Puerto Rico, en el Viejo San Juan, Los Soles Truncos. And it was a play about 2 sisters that are always thinking, or they have the presence of this younger sister that had died, who's a ghost. I've always loved ghosts, so, So then...
Bringing that back.
So that was like, ooh, wow. But it was so impressive. Again, like you, it was the sets, the music, the costume, the performances, the meaningfulness, the beauty of the script. And that really set me, and I always thought, no, this is what I love to do. This is my language. This is what I believe in. This is my passion. This is what I'm going to be. So there you have it.
Yes, and you all, these are questions for you too, just thinking about what was that theater experience? What was that moment, that really helped shape you? So I'm going to pass it back to Rose for this next question, and we're just going to kind of toss some things out for you all. But, curious, Rose, how in your journey, if you think back on it, because you've done so many different film, TV, acting, writing, producing, In what ways, or is there a moment in your journey that you can share that you resisted or subverted expectations, maybe to barriers that were put in your way or challenges that you faced? Could you think of specific moments or ways that you approached that resistance or subversion?
How was I resistant and subversive?
Yeah, throughout
Is
your
basically
journey.
what you're asking.
Absolutely. I want tips.
I'm not sure I recommend this, but
Oh, so we know it's going to be good.
well, simply there came a time when you grow up witnessing people who really put their hearts, their politics, their humanity on the stage. When you get to participate in making that kind of work. And then you go to an audition and you're like, really? Really? I don't think so. So, when you find your soul hurting, early on, I felt, well, they just don't know, so someone has to tell them. So I would sit in an audition in the waiting room when I knew that I wasn't going to audition, that I would say no, but I would walk in and say, I'm not going to audition for this, but I want you to know why. So I would break it down for people. So I did that a bit, and I didn't work very much. But I have to feel that, and that was not on, it was just to help, it was important to me to help create awareness. I couldn't work with, I couldn't be around Carmen Zapata, I couldn't have been a part of Zoot Suit, I couldn't work with Luis Valdez, with any number of other people, and not use my voice. And my hope is that that voice helped to, I'm not taking credit, but I'm hopeful that that helped to shift things. I hope that it helped to shift.
Absolutely, I'm sure it did. And Christine, I wanted to ask you too, because you have such a long body of acting, and a lot of times with, like Rose is saying, you go to auditions or you show up and there's an expectation, right, around what they want you to play to or a character that they want you to play. So maybe you could talk a little bit about how you face those challenges.
Can you do that with an accent?
Yes, please.
In fact, I'll just add that Cristina and I both, I walked out of a room at the taper and went, no one told me they wanted an accent. No, I'm not doing an accent. And Christina looked at me and went, what happened? What just happened? I said, I refuse to do an accent. And she went, you went. No one said anything to me about an accent.
This is such a big topic, and I'm going to do just two little ones, but I also just want to say thank you for setting this up. I feel I'm sort of like in the dressing room, because I think we've all been in the dressing room together at some, when I had no gray hair. The first agent I went to see that somebody told me at school was somebody that I might be able to get for representation for commercial work. When I left, and I had my pictures, I even had a real picture and resume which had about 3 things on it, and I was a senior in college. And he said, well, it's possible we could represent you, but we'd like you to change your name. We would like you to get your teeth fixed, and we'd like you to get your nose fixed. Yeah. So I went home and I talked to my dad, who was just a great guy about these things. He was also a doctor. In fact, they knew each other, right? We went to the same high school. And he said, well, if you want to get your teeth fixed, that's okay, If you want to get your nose fixed, which I didn't want to because it would change my singing voice, it's resonating, and I thought, that's totally, I won't say the word. I thought that was just completely ridiculous. And my father looked at me. Now, he had gone through an incredible era of racism, let's call it what it was, among people going to school and trying to become doctors, okay, for women and for, So he said, well, you can change your name if you want to. You could do that. But he said, there's nothing wrong with your name. It's a good name. And it really made me think, because I thought, well, maybe I should do something like Smith or something more, And I thought, no, we're not going to do that one. No. The other moment was some years later at the Taper, and they were casting a show that was a British show, I think, and there was a role of a maid. And at that point, I had been doing 20 years of maids, and I thought, I can do a maid. I can do that. And I had done Zoot Suit. I had done about 5 shows at the Taper at that point, okay? And I sat in front of this guy, and I said, yes, I did Zoot Suit, and I did this and this and this and this, holiday pudding, Christmas stuff. And he said, well, you're just too exotic looking. I went, huh? How so? What do you mean? You're talking about? Well, I couldn't ask all those things. But I left there realizing, aha, this is really interesting. I'm going to write this down and tell somebody about this, because that was an extraordinary moment of realization at a theater where I was established, known as an actor, that I was someone that they could rely upon. If they cast me, I would show up and so forth. But it was really quite a moment. Now, I don't know if that answered your question, but I was sitting here listening and thinking. So I just thought I would share that with you, because those moments are still probably around the corner, like accent, what are you talking about? Oh, and to their credit, TV show 24 was one of the first ones where nobody asked me to use an accent, and I didn't have to when I shot it. It was really so refreshing.
I have a little story. So I hear that they're casting for a film in which Andy Garcia is going to play Garcia Lorca. So I understand then that one of the major scenes, is going to be shot in Los Angeles, because Andy doesn't want to go to Spain to shoot it. So I write to everybody, and I send them all kinds of nonsense, right? I make myself so annoying, even to myself. So, but I thought, well, they don't know me, so I'm going to write and tell them who I am and how I have played this role on stage, Yerma. So then I go to the auditions, I get the audition, and I see all these 20-year-old girls that are auditioning for Yerma. Yerma is a 23-year-old virgin woman who's married, and she can't conceive because story. Nevertheless, so what happens? So, but the role was done by Margarita Galban, who used to be in Garcia Lorca's company, and she was in her 40s when she did this role. So I hear all the auditions. You can hear all the girls. There's a part in which she's screaming, she's killing her husband, and there's this major scream that happens, right, at the end of the play. So, and so I'm hearing these screams like, like that, right? So I go, okay. So I also dressed myself like looking like Margarita Galban. So I did research. She was pretty much my look. And so I enter the room, and the guy goes like, ooh. Like, you're old. I was in my 40s. So he goes, you're old. And I go, no, let me just do the scene. So I do the scene, and of course that final primal scream is not this, but one that is like from the gut coming out. And then he's like this. And then I say, well, actually, I want to educate you a little bit. And I say, Margarita Galban was the actress that created this role. And the reason Garcia Lorca didn't want a 20-something-year-old girl to do it, and I'm sorry, the 20-something, but I'm talking about my experience, right? And it was because he wanted someone that had lived life, that knew exactly what it was to have this angst, this anger, this frustration, this kind of a thing, that oppression of women, right? And so that's why he had Margarita Zirgu play the role. Well, I got the part. Oh, but what the funny thing was that he went to the director and said, oh, you know what? Actually, we're casting Margarita Zirgu, not a young 20-year-old woman. So they wrote another scene for the film in which you see Margarita running after the theater play that she's doing, right? And she runs to Lorica, Andy Garcia, and she says, I was good, wasn't I? Was I good? Did you like it? And then he says, yes, you were divine, but next time, instead of here, do it from here. And then he gives me a big kiss. Yummy.
So you got a kiss and a part.
It was fantastic.
I love that. Those are great stories. Right, Evelina Yola, do you have any tips or tricks for subverting the rules? Hope folks are taking notes.
I actually have a kind of different story. You know, I didn't go to theater school. And so the three of us were in Zoot Suit. And so when I was in Chicano theater, and I was working as a TA at a junior high school. I was going to Cal State LA, and a friend of mine, Irma Garcia, says, Evelina, they're auditioning. You guys know Irma, right? Evelina, they're auditioning for Zoot Suit at the Taper by Luis Valdez. And I was like, who's Luis Valdez? Honestly, I didn't know then. And then so I was like, no, I'm not interested. But then she bugged me so much. You have to audition. And finally I said, okay, I'm gonna go audition. So I went over there, and I had never auditioned in my life. And so the waiting room at the Taper that all of us have been in, and then I found myself auditioning in front of Luis Valdez, Danny Valdez, and what's the other producer there then? Huh? No, Phil wasn't there. Anyway, so I had never auditioned before, and I was very nervous. I remember my paper was shaking like this, but I was so nervous that I was so emotional that I cried and everything, but not because of my craft, just because I was so nervous. And then I left there, and I was like, oh, phew, okay, I did that. And then I got a call back. And then I was talking to my Chicano, theater comrades, and I was like, so I got this call back. They're like, no, you shouldn't do that. You can't sell out like that. And so I was like, yeah, I'm not going to go back. So I didn't go back. And then next thing I know is Irma Garcia's calling me. She's Evelina, Luis Valdez is looking for you. And I'm like, he is? And then so I said, but I missed my callback. I didn't go. And so I was so naive. I called the Taper, and I said, I had an audition, but I didn't go. And so they said, okay, come in. So I went in and, did my callback. And the next thing I know, I was, on the stage at the Taper, And so my acting career has been kind of like that, pretty. But the reason that Luis Valdez cast me was because of authenticity. Okay? I knew the character. I knew Dela. I knew, that role. And that's why he cast me, not because, I was the greatest actor in the world or anything like that, but because he wanted authenticity. And so, that was a life-changing event in my life. If Luis would not have cast me in that role, I probably wouldn't be here today, right? I wouldn't have become a professional actor. I wouldn't have become a playwright. And so that's kind of how it's been for me. I've been very, everything that we have now here in this theater, the Latino Theater Company with, my comrades, Jose Luis, Jeff, Lucy, and Sal, is because of a lot of hard work. A lot of hard work, right? But in terms of me and my acting career, it's been pretty, things kind of fall in my lap kind of thing, and that's the way it's been for me.
Yeah, very different, all different, The journeys are all different. I want to pick up, Evelina, actually with you again, because of this work that you do here at the LATC, and then I would love to hear from more of you about how do we embody or how do we empower the next generation, of folks. You all are amazing at this and do this in various different ways, but maybe just speaking from, what's your kind of philosophy around that, or how do you embody that in your practice?
Yeah, it's something that we think about a lot. I mean, we are, our company, we all started out together in our 20s, and now we're old. I have white hair too. Just so you guys know that. So how do we turn this over? I mean, because it's very important for us. And so we have what's called our succession plan. And the plan for us, and we've been practicing it. We have an artistic family. We have young actors that we've worked with over and over and over all these years. People who work on our staff who have been here forever. We have people on our staff that came through our conservatory, and now they're on our staff. So it's an ongoing question with us, and so we have a 5-year plan. And so if you see like the artistic leadership fellows that introduce the shows, that's all part of the succession. We also have, and there's so much that we have. I don't want to talk about it forever, but we have our summer conservatory that we do every year that's completely free. And we don't audition the students that are part of our conservatory because students from our communities are at a disadvantage. If they haven't been taking a dance class and tap class and all of that all these years. So the kids that come to our conservatory come from families whose families, they have 5 children and they make $30,000 a year. Yeah. Those are the students who come to our conservatory. And no, maybe they may not become actors or directors or playwrights, but it really is a life-changing experience for them. To be able to write their stories, to be able to act, to be able to direct, to just get on that stage and invite their families to come in and see their work it's a beautiful experience. If any of you are ever in town, to experience that. And then we also do our after-school program where we teach scenic design, lighting design, costume design. We teach, what else? Sound design, costume design, and anything else. I mean, and we have some of the people that went through that program on our crew. also. So then, we offer them jobs. And then, also, I don't know if you guys have gotten to know any of our house staff, but most of them are students from East LA College. And we don't ask them to volunteer. We pay our ushers.
That's right.
So all of that is kind of, bringing in young people, giving them work, talking to them about the theater, hoping that they'll want to do this so that when we leave in 5 years, and another very important part about leaving is that we also want to leave this to younger individuals who have to be passionate and committed with enough of a budget. Because when we started here, when we took over this building, when they handed over the keys to us, we had no money. We had no money, and we struggled for so long to the point where Jeff Rivas had to take a loan out on his house for $250,000, and it took us forever to pay you back, Jeff. I'm so sorry.
I love you, Jeff.
But anyway, that kind of thing. So now we're in a much, much better place for people to take over this place. We're going to be looking for positions. We're going to be looking for a general manager. We're going to, stay close to us. Stay close to us.
Absolutely. And I know, Rose, you do a lot with this
if I
kind of
may,
work.
yeah.
So do you want to jump in?
Promised me you were on. There, okay. It is, the main thing for me that triggers me is it's not important that they become actors. It's not important that they actually do what we do. It is important that they are sparked, that they see themselves, that they understand what passion is, and that they understand what support means. Yes? For themselves, that we care in supporting them and whatever their choices are in life, and that we also need their support. Because here's one thing, all of us need an audience, right? We're not doing it for each other. That's stupid. And it also doesn't help to change the world, to exchange our points of view, to exchange our artistic aesthetics with each other is vital for the art form to grow. But we are people of service. We are here to serve community and to give voice to community and to the voiceless, and hopefully to instill the power of the voice within their being so that they're not afraid to go up to their boss and go, you know what, this $8.50, it's not going to cut it for the work I'm doing, right? So that they have voice. I used my voice in an audition room in order to have roles that were about humanity and not about a joke with an accent. Okay? So all of this work with youth is vital and important, not just for the sustaining of the art form and the building, which is all necessary, but for humanity and community. That we have an experience, because as soon as you experience genuine community, where people actually care about each other and are willing to put their house on the line, because it wasn't about your ability to be on stage, it was about what is the message, what are we giving, how are we being of service, how are we being of service in a way that nobody else can. And you don't know what you don't know. So what I realized when I stepped into a continuation school was that most of them who thought they were losers and had no self-esteem, right? They were artists, but they didn't know it because we have robbed our schools, especially then, we have robbed our schools of the tools of the trade. If you've never seen a paintbrush, you don't know what to do with it necessarily, right? If you are writing on walls because nobody ever gave you a canvas, you know, you need mentorship. So I'll stop there.
Yeah, absolutely. Christina, did you want to?
I have been so very fortunate in terms of education that at one point, I saw an article in the Times about the kids that are in prisons, mostly black and Latinos. And the Latinos barely were, proficient in writing Spanish or English. And the next thing I knew, sometimes you put yourself out there or think about something or say something. My mother used to say, just visualize it. Next thing I knew, I had a job working part-time for UCLA Extension and going into prisons. And I worked there for about 7 years, and it was remarkable. I learned so much. And we were, a band of, I think, about 5 actors. J.Ed was in the first group. And it was an extraordinary experience. We tried to run theater games, like if you could do a game of red light, green light with the groups of, at the time, Bloods, Crips, and who else was there. It was really an extraordinary moment. So I was very fortunate, and I learned so much from that group. I'm still teaching. I'm going to be teaching Compton Early School in a couple of weeks, and also at Hollywood High School. But I always find that I learned so much from teaching, and I just have felt strongly that I've been so fortunate. I was able to go see musical theater. I saw the first production, the New York production of My Fair Lady and South Pacific when they were downtown, 55, 60 years ago. And I just felt very strongly about giving back. And I think the work that you guys are doing is just tremendous. Anyway, I just wanted to share that.
Yeah, Denise, do you want to add?
Well, what I want to add is for the youth, what is your future? What are you going to do? Collaborations. Collaborations are so important. And I'm not talking just collaborations with other Latino companies. I'm talking about collaborate with everyone. Write something. We have so much right now with telephones, with podcasts, with whatever, So write something, create something, and then go to whatever company and say, I have this product. Can we collaborate? And then your voice will be heard. Not to say, don't come to LA to see us, and that's fantastic. This is one of the best companies that we have in Los Angeles. But what I'm saying is, don't be lazy. Don't be waiting for someone to give you something. Create it. You need to create it. Whether it's a 1-second thing in TikTok, whether it's a podcast, whether it's a one-woman show or a one-man show, whether it's look at the things that are being presented here in this theater right now. I mean, I went to see the girl with the angel wings. Oh my God, no words. A few songs from time to time or humming. Incredible. You need to see it. It's fantastic. I'm very curious to see the one with no lights. When we did, I'm very curious to see it because, as a matter of fact, we did a production at Odyssey Theater 10 years ago with no lights. The audience would come into a black theater, no light, and then we presented like 12 scenes that were one after the other, that they made sense. And how we would work was they had these strings, and we would find each other or find our next point through the strings because it was a dark theater. But nevertheless, I'm digressing. But what I'm trying to say is create. Be your own salesperson. Love yourself. Create. Get your passion out and collaborate. Don't be shy. Don't say, oh, they're not going to want to do anything with me or whatever. No. Go with the idea that you're going to sell your idea, you're going to produce it, you're going to star it, or maybe you're just going to make the costumes, not just make, you're going to create your sets, or maybe you don't have a set, but do everything that comes out of your brain. Create, collaborate. That's what I have to say.
I love this, you all. We were gifted a couple more minutes to go over just because we started a little bit late. So I just want to see if anybody has any questions for this incredible panel. You can shout them out, and then I'll repeat them into the mic as an end, and then we'll close out. But just a little couple minutes for a few questions. I'm just looking. I can't see. There's one back there. Nope, there's somebody right behind you with the hand up. Not you, Jacqueline. We love you.
What, Jacqueline? What's your
Yeah.
question?
Oh, you don't want to do the mic? Okay, great.
So thank you so much for Jaime Jose Hernandez, he, him, his. Thank you so much for sharing all your stories and wisdom with everyone. Rose, I believe it was you who spoke up at an audition about, anytime you spoke up, especially as women, so brave of you guys, but were you ever scared of getting blacklisted from this casting office or from the industry or from other people? And yeah, could you speak on that?
Yeah, do you want to? Yeah,
Oh.
thanks.
Yeah, sure. I mean, it's a risk, right? It's a risk. And so it can trickle down to that director doesn't want to deal with you, that producer didn't, or the casting director goes, that's a point, I'll bring her in next time too. Or go, yeah, well, you go get a job somewhere else, little lady. It's the risk that you take, which is why I say I don't recommend it. But even now, you try and you look for the ear that's listening. And then you try and say something. Yeah. And sometimes you just pull someone aside. So instead of doing like, all of you people, I don't know who you are, but this is what you need to know. And sometimes it's like, can I talk to you after this audition? I have something to say. There are different ways to approach.
And like 40 years ago or so, I was up for a Coors commercial, big one. They wanted to see me back, and then I found out it was non-union, and I found out about a bunch of other stuff that I didn't like. And so I told my agent, I am not going to go back. I don't want to do this. I don't want to be a part of it. And that put a rift between me and my representation, which was not a good thing. It was kind of stupid. But I still feel good about not doing it. And I have to say, no is a very powerful thing for women. Very powerful for all of us. No is yes. No leaves a mark. And it feels good. And I didn't get to, and then they stopped sending me out and blah, 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 blah. And I thought, that's okay. There are other things I can look for. There are things that I would rather be doing anyway. And, you start realizing life is short. I want to spend my time working on this, and this, and this. And doing that is a really good thing. You find out who you like in terms of writers. Maybe you're the writer. Maybe you find, because, regional theater in the United States has just changed dramatically. Jose Luis was telling me about 15 years ago, we're more alive than anybody around, All the so-called white theater is pretty much dying, But Latino theater, regional theater is doing well. There are places to work, places to get your plays read, where you can work out and find things. And there are schools. There are places, Fountain Theater has a program for high school students. There's many places that have done outreach in ways that I just thought I would never see. Anyway, no is a big, powerful thing to be able to say. And doing it with knowledge is also very important.
I one time did what Rose did, and I basically went in. I did the audition, but then I said, this role, I think it could be better if you blah, blah, blah. And I got the part, you know, which is like really weird. I thought I was never going to get it. But the other thing about saying no, like, for example, I'm sure you guys still go out on auditions and stuff. I don't. I don't have a theatrical agent anymore. I don't go out for commercials anymore because just the whole scene is just something that I'm not interested in anymore. All the acting I do is here at the Latino Theater Company. I don't act anywhere else. And the other way to get around that kind of thing is make work for yourself. Create opportunities. Like Denise was saying, create your own opportunities. That's the reason I started writing, because I was going up for roles, you know. I always say, you know, first I was the gang member, and then I was the gang mother, and I'll be damned if I'm going to be the gang grandmother, you know?
Yes.
I was like, fuck that. I'm not going to do that.
All right, y'all. We have time for one more. I see hand here. I don't know if we have a mic in the house. Down here. We had one down here, and I think that's it, you all. And then they're going to be here, so you can talk to them after. But let's do this last one.
Hi everyone, I'm Jessica Sheher. Muchas gracias, las cinco. I have a question that, you know, elections are coming up, and I saw a post there somewhere about how our generations are of really empowered women and femmes, but, and I don't know if I agree with this next part of the statement, but that we didn't teach the men to like know how to handle or like how to like. And in the polls, and I'm sorry if this is emotional for people, but I'm saying like a lot of Latino men and men of color are not, you know, are supporting the candidate whose name shall not be mentioned today. But I don't know if there's any like wisdom that you can share, because I'm in a PhD program, and the like most offensive misogynist shit has come from Latino men. When I mentioned that I'm in a PhD program, like, it has not come from white men. It has come from Latino men, and including people in my family, like men in my family, right? Like, and I still don't know what to make of that, and I just would like to know, like, if there's any wisdom that the five of you could share. I know that I said like a 3-part question, but muchas gracias.
Any responses to that?
Yeah. So, years ago, I founded my own company. It's called LA Diversified. And the reason I created the company was for creation of women's work. Because I felt that we weren't being shown as strong women. And so what I'm trying to say is, how do we change the history of what has become? How do we, and I can see that there's a lot of women in this room. I think that we're the majority in this room, and there's men as well. How can we teach men,
And non-binary.
how can we teach men to respect us and to collaborate with us? I think that the most important thing is that we women need to be sisters to each other, and we're not. Sometimes we don't go, wow, that was fantastic. Instead, we ruminate, oh, and we criticize, oh, it's not as good, blah, 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 blah. So our movement, your movement, because I'm falling apart, so I don't know how many years I have left, but your movement, which we embrace, is how to be sisters to each other, How do we speak with strength without being afraid of saying what we feel? And as long as we're saying it, we're speaking from the heart and with our passions and with our hearts open, and not with hate and not with vulgarities, but with embracing men, embrace us, understand us, see that we're the same. We all want the same things. And what is it that we want? We want love, we want respect, we want equality. So my recommendation is for you yourself, be the sister of everyone in this room. Open yourself that much. And by opening yourself and by showing who you are, by being heard, by speaking your truth, you're creating a movement.
Let's leave it there. Thank you. You all, give it up for this incredible panel. Thank you, Christina, Evelina, Rose, Denise. You all, we have some flowers for you all to thank you for all the work you've done over the years. Jacqueline's going to join me.
Patricia, thank you so much.
Oh, of course, you all. Also a reminder as we pass out these beautiful tokens of appreciation for our amazing panel, a reminder that we have a play in the Encuentro directed by Leanne, actually, that you heard from earlier, by Bilingual Foundation for the Arts. So please check that out, La Vida de Sueño. And also come and visit in the lobby and hear more about the Teatro Project, the archive project. But come on, one more time, you all. Come on. All right, you all. Yeah! Thank you all. Thank you. All right, you all. Thank you for giving us the opportunity to start a little later. We'll take about a 5-minute break. You all get that stretch in, get some water, and we'll see you back.